All right, welcome to Prop Talk. Here with Chris Call, myself, and Mike Trudel.
Hey.
And our guest today is yet another regional director of the Property Masters Guild, Kurt Bruun from Vancouver.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Welcome aboard.
In the studio.
I was going to say, in the studio.
Yeah.
It was very nice. So Kurt was in town for LA Comic-Con, which was
That's right.
fantastic. And
You just dated us again. So.
I just
he was in town a month ago for LA Comic-Con. It was fantastic.
Hey, whenever, here we are.
Yeah, this episode might be coming out on Christmas Day, I believe. So for all of you
Merry
out there,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. If I'm not mistaken, is that right?
Yeah,
is this on Christmas Day? I think?
We were just
I
talking
think.
about that. We might skip.
We might skip it?
skip for Christmas because, people are busy. Maybe they want to watch it.
Fair enough. Well, Merry Christmas either way.
That's right. Merry Christmas, people. This might
Happy
be
holidays.
close to, if not, right after. So, again, can we talk about LA Comic-Con? Is that a good thing
Yeah,
to
we
do?
can definitely
I
talk
just
about
have
LA
to-
Comic-Con.
and again, I know Mikey's been pushing it and speaking about it for a couple episodes, and it happened, and I unfortunately wasn't able to be there, but it was a huge success, and I just want to give you a big shout out, Michael, because you did a great job putting it together. And so I don't know, you wanted to say a little bit about it before we jump in here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it wasn't just me. We had a pretty good, solid team behind us that put it together. Kurt came down just to help us from all the way from a different country.
Yeah,
That was great.
Canada.
No, everybody worked really hard. It was a great show. Like, you guys had some great pieces, and it was a huge fan favorite for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. And our technical director Teresa helped us out a lot, and the whole events committee, really, like the combination of everybody just kind of coming together and working, especially this for the past 8 months, but this past month was just grueling.
Yes.
So now that it's done, but it was great. We were in the West Hall and we had tens of thousands of, probably a lot of you that listening and new people listening. Thank you for coming in. A lot of people. We handed out Prop Talk stickers and gave out thousands of them. So
excellent.
So if this is your first time listening, welcome.
Yes.
Awesome to meet you at Comic-Con. Thank you everybody who came by. They saw lots of stuff. Lots of people had questions. Everybody was really, really excited, and we had 2 awesome panels. With the Star Wars panel, where we packed house, both of them pretty much.
Right.
They were pretty full, over 200 people in both panels, and they kind of came by and said hey afterwards and hung out with us. So it was a good success, and I think we're going to keep doing it.
Yes,
every year.
And we recorded both panels, correct?
That is
At
correct.
some point, they'll be out there in the world.
They'll probably be out before this episode is. So if you're hearing this right now, you can just go back and they're not gonna be as episode numbers. They're just gonna be as bonus episodes, kind of thrown in. So if you are around for Christmas, just listen to those panels. the Oppenheimer prop team from Oppenheimer panels and prop teams from the Star Wars TV shows. So
And great work getting the mics out to the questions, because this time you'll actually be able to hear the questions when people
That's
are answering.
right.
I listened to some of the first panel, and
yeah.
I was just like, you're listening to trying to hear the question.
It's funny, the last one, because we did the last one, and you kind of you can hear a faint from the audience or whatever. And I was like, you gotta repeat the question when you're saying it back. But but this time it was because they're like, oh, here's a mic if you want to run it around, and this was a much bigger room, too.
Right.
Yes.
So I was like, well, I got this, and people would raise their hand and start talking, and be like, whoa. For a podcast here, and hand them a mic. But the audience had the fans have the best questions. They have stuff that we're approaching it from a prop mindset, and we're good to get the ball rolling. But they're thinking of stuff that
especially in the Star Wars,
we had all the droid builders there.
As they were saying, that's where they got a lot of their information, was just from the fans even.
The lightsaber makers and the droid builders, they showed up.
Wow,
They were there with vigor. They they just wanted to know more, and they like it's great because Josh and Brad were like celebrities to them.
I'll bet.
People were asking for autographs. It was so cool.
That's so great.
Yeah, we don't get this recognition, so
no, it's great. It's great that the world is finally getting to understand.
It is
what we really do.
And it's just being as a prop teams. You say there's. I was telling a lot of people was like the one time of the whole thing that almost like made me choke up a bit was right before like the 1 minute before each of the panels where like they said, and I give you the prop team from Oppenheimer, and the whole room just erupts in applause and cheering and everything like that. It's like you don't get to see just fans doing that and showing us appreciation. So it's nice. It makes you feel good, and another reason. Other than playing with the toys and all the cool stuff we do, why we do this, we can see it firsthand.
Right.
You know
for sure.
It's for all of them.
Yeah.
So great. So Kurt, you're in Vancouver, or are you from Vancouver?
From Vancouver, born and raised.
Very nice. Yeah. So again, before we get into all your films, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what motivated you into the industry?
Yeah, I mean, when I started, I was 19 and had no idea what I wanted to do. I was working at a grocery store and got a day as an extra on a show called Strange Luck, and
just out of nowhere,
just sat there.
Was it like a posting on a wall or something?
No, it was something through somebody that my brother knew, and I got on there. So then. And I was just sat on set watching everybody working all day. And I had taken like stagecraft in high school and took and had actually, it was funny because I didn't quite go into props for a few years, but when I was younger, I was building like my own Ghostbusters costume and Freddy Krueger costumes with making the glove and all this kind of stuff. So, which when I finally got into props, my parents were just like, yeah, of course you're in props. Like, look at your costumes when you were a kid. But
that's brilliant. So what year was this?
That was my first day working on a set as a PA. The set was 95, and then I did a couple of days as a locations PA in January 96 on Fox was doing a pilot for Bring Back Doctor Who.
Oh.
So I was doing, I don't think that one succeeded at all, but they shot that pilot. So I was a PA on that. And then ended up getting onto small shows like the X-Files for season 4. So that was pretty lucky to jump into that. Yeah. And then I spent a summer on a show that we shot on Vancouver Island when we shot it, it had the title the same name as the book Eaters of the Dead by Michael Crichton, but it was released as the 13th Warrior. So I was there doing that, and then
did you do props or art on any of these ones?
No, not on those.
This is all PA.
This is PA stuff, and then I got into props in 99.
After like 6 years of PAing?
No, I was doing some office work and some TAD work and so AD work and stuff as well. So a few different things. I did some location scouting for a while.
Yeah, so you bounced around and tried some other things.
I tried some different things, and then I was an AD and.
You were an AD,
and I did that on Mission to Mars in second unit, and absolutely hated it.
I was going to say.
It's just like everybody's problem was your problem, and just being part of that side of it. And I was just like, and then I worked my way into getting into props, and as Andy Siegel said on his episode, I just lied my way into it. And
what sparked? Like what made that appealing to you?
Well, I'd been on set enough to sort of see what departments did, and it looked like a cool department. Sort of going back to what I had done when I was younger, building stuff. It seemed like the creative side of things that I wanted to get into. Wasn't really too interested. I thought about camera and stuff like that for a bit, but I just really
more creative than that.
Wanted to be more creative with it and be on the art side of things like that. So, and you're dealing with the directors and the cast directly, and being part of the show. Right.
Did you come up under anybody? How did you get your training in props?
Well, I got in. It was really busy in town at that time. Like I got a few days on a couple of shows, and then I knew somebody who was the buyer on the new series Dark Angel with Jessica Alba.
Right.
And they put in a call to the hall to get a props person a couple times, and they got a construction person because there was no props people. So I went, well, I don't quite have the days, but I've got my gun license and I've got a few days and I've got these years of experience. So I went and applied, and the very next day I was the assistant prop master running second unit of Dark Angel. Wow. So thrown right into the fire, which at the time was the biggest budgeted TV series ever. It was the James Cameron series. It was a big busy show. So
what is your gun license there? Because
Yeah, I
it's
was
not
gonna
an
ask
it's not an EFP, right?
no,
Which is here. It's something else.
It's a restricted and non-restricted possession and acquisition license. So it's called a POW.
Holy crap. Okay. So is that like for only movie guns, or is that for real
that's if
firearms?
anybody wants to carry like if you're hunting, you have to have that.
Okay.
Or if you have a handgun, but in Canada you can only have a handgun. Like you can have it at your home in the safe, or you can be transporting it to the range and using it at the range, and that's it. You can't have that gun anywhere else.
Right.
So,
And that's different.
That's pretty much California in most cases.
Right. And then now also the government just shut down transfers because they're starting to get to shut down a lot of the guns. They're tightening the gun regulations a lot. So they're not. It's not illegal right now, but it's illegal to transfer a handgun in Canada right now.
So how does that pertain to using on set then?
We rent those from our supplier,
And they're all like they all have to be modified. Or,
No, I mean, anytime you have like a revolver, rifle, shotgun, that's all just a real gun with blanks in it, right?
But that needs extra licenses and stuff.
That's usually supplied from our armor shop, and then I've got, because I'm incorporated, so I've got a business firearms license through the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, so you can carry all that stuff for film use, and it says right on there also that it is. The license will be revoked if there's ever any live ammo anywhere near any of the stuff.
So that one's specifically for film
and TV, yeah. And then when we were doing Violent Night, we were in Winnipeg, and nobody had that license there. So we do, because sometimes you can just hire somebody who's got that license.
Right.
Like when, we had full auto machine guns that we needed on that one. So they actually upgraded my license to be able to carry those now.
So your license can cross over province lines?
You have to go. Actually,
that's what I was wondering.
It is a national thing, but you do actually have to check with each province. So because they were being driven through Alberta and Saskatchewan to Manitoba,
right.
We actually had to get them approved to go through those provinces as well, because he's transporting them all. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's different in Toronto, right?
No. Well, Toronto would be the same. It would have the same licensing.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all national.
Right. Is that process a pain in the ass? Like, is it crazy? Or?
Not really. I mean, I found it was a little more difficult in Winnipeg because they're just not used to it there. They just didn't, they don't have that many people coming in getting big film gun licenses there.
Sure, yeah.
They're transporting truckloads of full auto machine guns into their province. So.
Right.
But in Vancouver, they're so used to it that they just, like the guy, when I had my props truck, I needed to get it inspected for the first time I was getting it, and he was there that day. Came out and inspected the safe that was bolted to the frame of the truck and everything, and gave me approval that day. So
okay.
Quick.
So it's just somebody coming out and pretty much checking all this stuff out. Okay.
Yeah.
And where did they shoot Last of Us? What province was that?
Last of Us season
Alberta.
1 was in Calgary, Alberta.
Okay.
Yeah, but there, and it was a lot of Vancouver people on that as well that are now, they're prepping it in Vancouver now for season 2.
Really?
Because season 2 is set in Seattle.
Yep.
So Vancouver looks a lot more like Seattle than Calgary does. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
Well, that makes sense actually.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Right?
I just finished playing both run through both games. So now I spoiled everything
for the first time.
Right.
Yeah, for the first time.
Oh,
and
nice.
It's fantastic. But yeah, it spoiled a lot. There's no way. They're definitely going to have 2 more seasons out of the second game. It's a really long game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a huge prep though. I mean, I know I worked with some people we finished a show at the end of February, and they're in the art department, and they were going straight to prep, and they weren't going to start shooting until next year.
Yeah. I mean, the build for that was incredible.
Yeah.
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 Built whole towns.
Yeah, whole towns, exactly.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's a big show.
Yeah.
So, wow. So tell me more about your experience. I mean, again, did you go to college at all?
No.
So you came right out of
school and was just sort of bouncing with a couple jobs, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then, once that day got on there as an extra and just watched the crew working around, and somebody was wearing a traffic vest, and I said, "Hey, how do you get into doing this?" And they said, "Go to the DG." They were obviously a PA because they had their vest on, so they said, "Go to the DGC office." And back then it was like $25, and I had to take a set etiquette course and a traffic control course that were each like half a day.
And so you said at this time, this is when work was really getting busy in?
It was really busy then. I think the dollar was at like 63 cents.
Right.
So it was getting really busy there.
Right. And it's been busy ever since, correct?
It has been. We were slow when there was the big economic meltdown in 2008, 2009.
I see.
Here, and your dollar dropped, and ours was at like par or even above par.
Right.
With the US dollar, which really slowed things down there. And then, of course, to try and compensate for that, then our unions brought in tiered rates to bring in more work. And then, of course, when the dollar went back down, they won't get rid of the tiered rates.
Right. And so your IA is NABIT in Vancouver too, like that is in Toronto?
No.
Okay, so it's all IA.
IA, yeah.
Has it always been IA?
There's a smaller union called ACFC 2020, which does lower budget stuff, but then that's also what the tiered rates were they brought those in to try and
I see.
take some of those as well. So
ACF 2020.
yeah, ACFC, yeah. And then, yeah, and our union, our local 891 covers most departments like hair, makeup, wardrobe, props, set deck, art, lighting, grips, construction, accounting, everybody. It's just camera has their own local 669, and then we got Teamsters and DGC.
Oh yeah, because I guess I didn't think about that. Because I guess IA it crosses the border, but with the cinematographers, everything is of America or of the United. So I guess that doesn't cross over. So they're a different union out there.
Yeah.
Your Teamster, what are your Teamsters?
Teamsters 155.
155.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
And DGA and SAG, they're just Canadian offshoots?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, DGC, and they got UBCP and ACTRA.
I see.
Yeah. Interesting. What was it like getting into the union? Was it a difficult process or?
Not really. I mean, that's like I said, it was crazy busy, and that's the time you want to apply.
Yeah. When did you get in? You said it was like how much have you been prop assisting or even like in that world before you even joined, or you had to join?
That was 99, 2000, and then I actually left for a couple of years and traveled around and did some other stuff with some friends, and then got back in, I guess 2000, and then I think it was 2002 or 2003 I was signed in. I became full member.
Oh yeah?
So, yeah.
And was it just like an application pretty much to see?
It's once you have your days. What was it?
What is that?
I think it was back then. I think it was 90 days, and you had to have 3 sets of 20.
What does that mean?
So like you had to work on one show for 20 days.
Oh, gotcha.
Then, so you had to stay on with certain shows. So
yeah, you had to be like a full-time hire pretty much.
Yeah, or at least to have it be a long enough show and you get enough days on it. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you got in pretty early of being in props then, and then
Fairly
I mean
early,
you have like can you work on? You can't work on any of the union shows not being union out there, right?
No,
Yeah.
you can't.
So all those 90 days had to just be any. They could be any shows.
Yeah, you had a permittee status. So you got a permittee status, and you could get when it was really busy, you'd get called out. But you don't get a. We used to have seniority in the dispatch system, so we've got rid of that. So, but it used to be like the whole union hall had to be empty before they'd send out the permittees. So, but it was busy enough that you'd get called out, and then you kind of get to know a couple people, and they could start calling out too.
Have there been like many slow periods since the early 2000s in the industry out there, or like, or has it been pretty consistently like a lot of shows going on since then?
It's been pretty good, other than that 08, 09,
Right.
10 sort of.
Right.
And then,
when it was slow everywhere,
Yeah,
though. For
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And is it a mixed local there? I mean, are there classifications?
You've got your own department. It's not like a mixed local where you can be the boom op one day and a grip the next.
Okay.
You've got your own department. You can be part of another department as well. You can, but you have to apply to that, and then you don't have your senior, like you're not a full member in that one,
right?
You can switch to your department then, and then your other one becomes your second category. So
I see.
It depends.
I see.
Yeah.
And so how many property masters do you think there are in the Vancouver area?
Probably somewhere around 50.
Okay.
I think, because I was just looking at the list to see who else I could try and get on there for the PMG, and I think there's about 30 there, and I think we've got somewhere around 18 or 20 already from on the PMG list. So
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so
And so do you guys all, men and women, you all know each other? Are there a lot of female property masters?
there's a few, not as many as there should be, but there's definitely some that are moving up and taking that for sure. There's that was one thing when we were looking at initial members to invite for the PMG. We were looking for, the first set of invites was going to be people with a lot of experience who'd done it, and we were like, this is a lot of dudes. No, there's a few that we invited, and there's more up and coming for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
What do you guys handle out there? And do you like work out of trailers like we do here? Like, you came down for the liftgate and tailgate.
I did. We don't do the trailers like that. We don't do the 40-foot trailers. We've got usually 5 tons or 10 tons.
Really?
So it's so
So
your truck
where does
is
your
a truck?
Do you own a truck or does it?
I
Yeah,
own
you
a
do.
truck, yeah.
So does your like? I'm trying to think because everything barely fits on my trailer when I'm going on, like with your kit and stuff.
sure.
Is your truck 5-ton just decked out with
It
kit?
is right to the back, right to the rafters, right to the back. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's you're holding something in and pushing the door closed when you.
Do you usually have 2 trucks running when you're on a show then?
No, I mean we'll unload a lot of stuff that we don't need, and you just have to be more like the good thing about that truck is about the smaller truck is we're right there on set.
Right.
Like I've
not 3 blocks away.
We've had some people that have brought their 5-ton or their 40-footers before, and you're just a mile away. Yeah, and because we don't do stake beds there either. We have 1-ton cube vans or whatever, but we won't do stake beds because it's pissing rain. So.
Yeah, exactly. Snowing on your stuff. Exactly.
What's that like?
Right, we're so spoiled here. It's unreal.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I've kind of, it still bugs you, but I've kind of almost gotten used to always being parked at the end of the line.
It's true. I mean, it's very rare when you're not.
Yeah.
But it's also, we take it for granted. Again, just the weather here is always so nice. So even if you do have to huff it to your trailer,
Right.
It's not in the snow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of the standard in Vancouver is that there's camera and props are right next to each other right at set. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got to get that going down here.
yeah, it's nice. It's nice when they're
Well, it makes sense.
Well, it's so great when they're like, you're standing on set and the director goes, "Hey, it'd be really cool for this scene, final touches." And you're like, "What?"
Yeah, 100%. That's always been my point. It's like, who needs to get to their trailer faster than props?
Yeah.
And why is it always so far away?
Right.
Always falls on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Because we have the biggest vehicle, I think, on a lot of sets.
Well, the grip truck and the electric, they're the same size, right?
They're starting to be, yeah. At least on. Maybe I'm not as big of a prop master as you are, Chris Gall.
No, they all have giant trucks.
Yeah.
Special effects, too.
Oh, definitely special effects.
But, what are the rates? Are they much different? Do you know? My question is like, when a production comes to Canada, are they like looking to like save money?
Yeah, I think that's the whole reason that
Right.
it moved. There's that. We've got great locations and great crews and stuff now, but originally I think it was Cannell started bringing shows there and in the 80s, 90s because the dollar was so great. And then But yeah, I don't even know what your rates are here, so I don't really know exactly what they would be. But I believe it's I've heard things.
You could check on the PMG site on the private membership profile because we just opened that where we're actually sharing stuff now.
Yeah.
So,
all right,
you can know firsthand, my friend.
Check it out. Yeah. That's good. That's a good barging tool.
Yeah, exactly.
In my next meeting with you want to bring up somebody from LA because
exactly
they're like $60 US.
Hey, if you're getting a job and you can use it, I don't care what region you are. Right. If PMG members are getting more work, I'm never going to complain about that.
Sure. Yeah. Right, exactly. So I'm also curious. Do you find that you get any attitude about you're just Canadian crews? I mean, I'm sure it was like that earlier, but
it was like that earlier. I think there's not too much. Maybe from a couple of prop masters that have come up. But,
no.
Yeah, a couple of people that have come up have had attitudes, but I think that's just and not just in props, like
Sure.
all sides of the production. There's attitudes, but I think that's just industry egos
Yeah.
that probably exist. Those people probably have that same ego elsewhere.
100%.
So,
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is because, again, I came from a secondary market. I came out of Pittsburgh.
right.
And I had that same experience when I was
Right.
there. People would come in from LA and they just had this idea that you can't be that good because otherwise you'd be in LA.
Right.
And that's just not true.
Yeah.
So,
I felt that. I think PMG is making me humbling a little bit with that, because talking to so many of the people in the different regions, I feel like I trust them to know. I mean, maybe I'm not going to find them on my own, but if I go do a show in Pittsburgh or Vancouver or whatever, at least I know like Kurt's not going to give me anybody that's trash to work with.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No.
That doesn't know what they're doing or
Yeah.
anything like that. So I think after talking to all these people, there's good people almost everywhere.
For sure.
In all these regions.
Yeah.
yeah. And again,
There's a big film community there too.
well,
so
that's
that's
what I
like,
say. Vancouver is, it's not just it's not really even a secondary market anymore. I mean, you have everything that the LA has,
Yeah.
right? You have
Yeah.
pop houses and
Yeah.
stages and
Yeah. It's a little smaller scale, but yeah, definitely.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
but how many films or projects do you think that Vancouver can handle in any given time?
Well, when we were crazy busy a few years back, I remember it was I think it was like 2016 or 17. It was I counted there was like 44 shows
Yeah,
on the
that's
the
big.
list, and but that was I remember counting it back then, because going back to the tiered rates, I was working on Predator at the time, and terrible movie, and there was one other feature going on in town that was full rates, and the other 42 shows were discounted rates. I'm like, why are we signing 42 discounted rate shows? Like,
Right.
we're busy.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah. And then they fill our studios up with all these crappy little shows, like lower tiered shows, when all the bigger shows were turning away and going elsewhere because we were full.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How many studios do you guys have up there?
I actually don't have a full count on what we've got there, but I was actually just sort of looking into the whole thing, because everything's going to London these days, and everything's
yeah.
going, and I looked, and it's because they've just got like 55 studios that are going there, and they're building more, and so I was actually sort of looked up what was going on in Vancouver, and there's actually in the next 2 years there'll be another 50 studios opening in Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah, so
That's just on the plans to go forward?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some are opening this coming year, spring or summer. Bridge Studios is one that we've had for a long time, but they're expanding. They've got 3 new locations
Oh,
going
whoa.
in with a bunch of new studios going in, and then there's Martini Studios is opening a really big space as well.
Oh, that's nice. So they're trying to get ready for that rush to come back. I'm hoping
Yeah.
everybody's getting ready for this rush to come back. Not
Yeah,
the
yeah,
strike
for
is
sure.
over, right?
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
We're all hoping that it'll all start picking up real soon, because it's
Yeah,
that
I'm
little
ready.
Christmas break is waiting for that to be over. So
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
things will happen. Yeah,
Yeah,
Never wanted
exactly.
Christmas to be over so bad.
right. I know.
I know. Can we
it's-
just like call it a Christmas and just be?
I know. I was talking to my girlfriend, who's also in the industry, but she's working part time doing something else. Talking to her yesterday, and I was just like, I just can't wait for this to be over and get into New Year's. She's like, "Are you wishing Christmas to be over already?" I'm like, kind of, yeah.
It was gonna be a lean Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that affected everybody, though.
Oh, yeah.
Even London, which
Yeah.
is taking everything. They were the last ones at the very end, but it's doing that.
Yeah.
Do you guys what do you guys like? What is the prop master in charge of out there? So like I know in a lot of different regions, like some regions are in charge of like putting out trash cans even.
No, not that. No.
You do that?
No
director's
animals.
chairs? Director's chairs?
Cast chairs, yeah, we do cast chairs, yeah. Which it was funny when I was doing Violent Night in Winnipeg. There's locations just the cast chairs there, and I kind of wanted to take over the cast chairs because they just did.
Locations.
They weren't on it, and the cast, the directors and the execs and the cast are all just like they don't have a spot to put their stuff, and
Oh, they don't have the script bags?
and they didn't have cool chair backs done up with their names and everything on it. So it was just kind of like I just kept looking at them going like, can I just do some chair backs for you guys? And they're like, no, we can't do it.
So that's like a provincial thing. That
No, it was apparently, so there was a prop master in town there who worked in Vancouver and then told everybody there that Locations does it in Vancouver. So that he lied, and,
Wow.
and now they all do
That's
it.
what we need to start doing.
oh, exactly.
Yeah.
It's genius.
But see, I don't mind. I mean, again, I'll probably get a lot of shit for this, but I don't mind doing chairs
I don't mind
because because like you said, if they're not there, they're going to be looking for them, and that's just in our DNA to like make sure that they're taken care of.
Right.
I mean, and again, I'm also the type of property master where I handle the chairs. I bring the chairs. I do the chair backs. I bring them to set. We put them out. But once they're out, if they're moving, you got to get PAs in here to help move them, because if we're doing other things, otherwise you have to, bring on another prop person.
For sure.
I don't mind doing the chair backs up and handing them to, like, kind of like how we do those the laminate car cards. Like, I'm cool with that, because when we hand them off and then they're done. You know what I mean? I'll do the same thing with the chair backs, but then, somebody else can handle it. I'm totally okay with that.
When they're moving around set, if I know it's going to be a big busy show, I'll go to the locations at the start of the show with a couple cases of beer in hand to be like, hey, you guys want to help us out a little bit with the chairs here?
And are you guys doing wooden chairs, or are you into camp chairs?
I've got both in my kit, actually, but I kind of find that I went back to wood, because when you've got a big day and you need to rent extra chairs for more people, your chair backs fit those.
Haven't you had to do,
because the metal ones are all different.
Haven't you had to do a lot of work though, like in the snow? Do wooden chairs like, how do they don't sit in snow well? Do they?
Well, they do. They're just they put plywood down and a little they're still just.
Do you have to handle the plywood?
No, that's locations. Plywood and tents is all locations.
So I'll tell you what I did for camp chairs. That's been great. Is I had a bunch of sleeves built, and then we just do the name over the sleeves, and then you just slip them over, and they fit out.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah, for sure.
Because otherwise you have to like screw them on, and that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. What about picture vehicles?
No picture vehicles. No animals.
No animals,
which I was a surprise when I heard you guys talking about doing animals one time, and I was like,
we don't do most animals, but they look to you. I've been asked to to hire an animal, or depending on what the animal is, right? You have, I mean, you have a bunch of
different shows. Well, again, I found on television shows, a lot of television shows, they want me to handle the animals, which means, obviously there's an animal wranglers out there, and that's who you use. But as far as like getting the photographs and having the director pick which animal they want, that was all us. But I find that on features, it's usually production's handling it.
Yeah, I've definitely had to do hire the beetle person or the maggots. I've had to hire a maggot person more than once, actually. I have them in my phone now.
The reptile guy.
The real maggots.
Joe Maggot. Just like in your phone. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Joe Maggot.
That would be fun to go through every Property Master's phone book and see what people are listed as.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd have to be a segment.
Yeah, if you want to go through all 700 contacts, 7,000 contacts.
700, oh my God.
Yeah, 7,000 contacts.
I know,
it's so big.
Yeah, because now we don't have business card folders ananymore.
Or the Rolodex.
Yeah,
that was gold there. When the Prop Master's Rolodex.
Oh, I see.
Before you had it in your phone, it was that, and you're like flipping through that. A couple of Prop Masters were like, "Hey, can I copy some of these down from your Rolodex?"
For us, it used to be the business cards in the sleeves in a binder, and it's like every Property Master, that was like their gold.
Yeah, for sure.
So is there a Prop Master that you worked for primarily pretty solidly until you started prop mastering bigger union shows?
I did a bunch of shows with Dave Dowling.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. What shows we did? Like Night Museum 3. We did. He did Predator as well.
Oh, cool.
I worked with him first on an old movie called Slither. It was my day called with him. I think that was about 2003.
Slither.
Yeah, and
I love it.
yeah, we did a bunch of different shows together.
And you worked with a lot of prop masters from LA that can't come out and do stuff.
A few, yeah. I did. I worked with Doug Harlocker. He hired me to be his. They were shooting for a month on the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, cool.
For the exteriors, so he called me to do that. So I worked with him on that one for that first month and a bit of prep.
Is that the one where you didn't get a wrap gift?
what Mike's referring to there is,
I don't know this story.
at the Comic-Con, they were raffling off some crew gift swag, and one of the things up for raffle was a Dawn of the Planet of the Apes backpack.
Oh,
and I was like, I didn't even fucking get one of those. I did the show.
So you need to get a raffle ticket to win his own rep.
Yeah,
That's
I
funny.
didn't put any money in for the raffle for that though, because if I brought home one more backpack, I've just got way too many backpacks being in props, right? And crew gifts, and hey, that's a cool backpack at the end of a show. And you know, way too many of them. So yeah, I worked with Doug on that, and we had a great time on that one. And then I worked with Andy Siegel on Star Trek Beyond. He was David Dowling was his Canadian match on that.
Oh, cool.
So I was working with David, so David brought me onto that. But then, and we'd been hired for it, but it ended up pushing so many times. It pushed about 10 months, and we kept taking these tiny little crappy shows in between just to fill the time. And it finally started, and right as it started, after waiting 10 months, I just got onto it, and then Harlocker called again and said, we're coming back up doing another full Planet of the Apes. You want to do it again? And I was like, all right, because that's a prop master credit from the,
for sure,
as I had on the first one. So
yeah.
So then I went to Andy and David and was like, hey, so I'm assistant property master here, but property master on another Planet of the Apes movie. They're like, go, you're done. See ya. Nice. So I was like, so I had a little bit of time to finish off my gig there for a little bit, and then
which Planet of the Apes was that? That
was War for the Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Right, I see it.
And how much of that shot up in Canada?
That one was all Vancouver.
It was all in Vancouver, really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. How long did that shoot for?
4 months or so, something like that.
And you said Harlocker was the...
And that was Harlocker on that one.
And so did he source all the props in the States and then bring it up? Or did you guys...
most of it was all brought up from here.
Right. Yeah. There were a lot of guns in that, yes?
The guns were all from Vancouver. It's all stuff that he got.
Yeah, I was going to say, are U.S. property masters allowed to bring guns into Canada, or do they have to get them up there?
Our armor can bring stuff across. He can ship stuff. It's a lot easier if you can just get stuff that he's got in his shop. He's got a pretty extensive collection. So.
I see. So is there like one guy who does most of the guns?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, one shop. Yeah.
Have you worked a lot of like kind of motion capture stuff before that?
Not before that, no.
Not before that. So was it like a new kind of process to try to figure out for you?
Yeah, it was. I mean, Doug knew what was going on, so he was a big help with that. Obviously, he knew what we were doing and understood it all. Knowing when it's like, well, they're just going to remove the guy, so it doesn't have to look that great. Just put it in there. They're going to delete this whole thing anyway. Yeah, it's it was cool. It was a cool experience for sure. The experience from that came in really handy with when I did Lost Ollie, because that was all digital characters.
Oh, really?
Digital characters.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So all those puppets, or those Ollie and all those his friends, they were all digital. Did you have any?
No, they were puppets. They were actually originally they thought that it was all going to be puppeteered, and even though I kept telling them in all their meetings, I'm like, this is not. You got 3 people, 3 adult humans. Controlling an 8-inch tall puppet, and there's 3 of them in the scene, and you're going to have to animate their face anyway.
Right.
So why not just put them on a skateboard and roll them through the lit set, and then pull them out and or pose them there, and then just get your reference pass for lighting, and then.
Right.
And then and they were like, at first they were kind of fighting it, and then they realized I was totally right. And they were like, they brought in all these puppeteers from all over the place to do it, and they really didn't need to. I mean, they did. There's a few of the shots that we used that were they were from that, but most of it they just had full replacement.
Right. Did you have any input into the design of those puppets?
Not with those ones. They were already pretty much done.
Right.
The main characters were, but there's actually. I think 3 of the 4 made it in, but there was a 4th one that we didn't get to make in. But there was while they're on their journey, they're looking for people for other toys, and they run into other characters along the way. So it's like an 1/8 of a page, quick little. Have you seen this person? The puppet shakes their head and points or points. Yeah, I've seen them this way. So we designed and created those. We had a concept artist who drew those up, and then we had those locally made by guys who were on our puppet team.
Right, and then so you also had puppet-sized props.
We did, yeah, puppet-sized props.
Those are fun, right?
Yep, yeah.
Did you get to make a lot of those yourself?
We made a few of them, the little backpacks and stuff like that. Like Rosie's backpack, I think was a leather like card deck
Right.
pouch that we had made.
Oh,
and
cool.
Aged all that, and then the Always Pack was like one of those little gold mine gum pouches.
Oh yeah,
One
perfect.
of those. So he threw that over his shoulders, and yeah, there was a bunch of that stuff that we made up. It was pretty fun. It was a fun show. I really
Oh, and that
enjoyed
was
that.
a series, I see.
It was a limited series. It's 4 45-minute episodes, so it's
Okay.
basically a 3-hour movie. But for
Did
kids,
you-
they
Did
sliced
they
it up.
crossboard that? Just shoot it all at once, or
Yeah, we shot it all at once.
Right.
Yeah,
oh.
yeah.
You did Lost in Space, right?
I did season 2 of Lost in Space.
You did season 2?
There's 3 seasons. I did the second season. I definitely had the best season to do because the second season we got to go to Iceland and
Oh,
we were
really?
shooting in Drumheller and yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really cool.
You travel a lot for that show?
Just for the first little bit.
Where do they shoot most of it? Is it like because
it's all in Vancouver. It was all around in sound stages in Vancouver. But yeah, we did the first 11 days we were in Iceland, shooting on the black sand beach and then in the waterfall.
Wow.
And then we went to Drumheller for all that dry planet stuff, and that part of Alberta was dry and really hot for all the days that we were in Iceland, and then it's like turned to snow, where it like froze over and it was just rain and mud and snow, and it was just a big wet, gross, muddy planet by the time we got there. But
Yeah.
which is not what they wanted because water was scarce on that planet in the story.
Oh,
So
yeah, no.
they were like drilling for water in the scenes, so
Yeah.
couldn't show too much of that. But
No. So that's a show also then that nearly every prop has pretty much got to be custom made, right?
Yeah, it's a
So-
big sci-fi builds and designs and
So,
concept.
what do you have like a main shop up there that you typically use, or
I do,
or
it's-
what's your process of going into a movie or a TV show like Lost in Space? There's a lot of elements. I have a lot of elements to this question,
right.
But yeah, because it's a show that's kind of has an iconic. It's a remake of something that's iconic that has
Right.
a cult following
Of course,
already,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So going into something like that, you kind of have a lot of people watching you under a thumb, but then you also get to have a lot of creative stuff, and you don't. I feel like maybe you do, but I know a lot of resources down here. What's it like going through that and preparing for a show like that?
Well, I think I gained their confidence right off the bat. If you watch the first season, their wrist computers were about the size of Game Boys.
Yeah.
And they were big, especially on the kids. They were very big and clunky, and I noticed that as soon as I watched it. It was just like, these have got to go. So the first thing I said is, I'll do the job, but I'm changing those wrist computers. So if you look, season 2, they're way smaller.
Yes.
And
Have you ever played the Fallout game where they have like the Pit Boys and it's like a giant brick on their
No,
arm?
yeah.
It's a remind me.
They needed to be scaled down for sure. So I went in there and they all looked at me and were like, "You're absolutely right. That is the one thing we feel we dropped the ball on last year was we didn't really nail that down because the costumes look great and the spacesuits look great, and then they just had this big bulky thing that just with like 2-inch Velcro holding it on. And it was just like, so after that they're like, okay, this guy gets it, and they gave me a little bit of leeway, and then we had such little time on that. It was 4 weeks from the day I started till the day we were shipping to Iceland.
Wow.
So I worked through all the weekends, obviously. I was just like, we don't have time for this. And I only had the spacesuits for a week before they had to be shipped to Iceland because they were at FBFX getting tuned up. Wow. And then when we got them, we were going to be in the waterfall in Iceland. So the 2 characters plus their stunt doubles needed to go in there. So we needed to silicone up all the lights, wrap up all the electronics that are in the backpack and the fans and all that as much as we could. And then...
Do you needed to take care of the spacesuits?
Just the torso pack and the helmets. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's crazy.
Did you at least have crew? I mean, did you bring any crew to Iceland?
Iceland, no, I didn't. But they've got some pretty great experienced crews there. Yeah. Everybody there was really hardworking, and they do a lot of big shows there. So I think a lot of them had done like Oblivion and some Star Wars stuff, and there was a bunch of different stuff that was done.
What language do they speak in Iceland?
Icelandic.
Icelandic, right?
Yeah.
Was the robot practical?
There was a guy in a suit. Yeah.
There was a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So was the screen on the thing practical, or was that put in post?
It was. They did put it in post quite a bit, but it was an iPod Nano that we slid in there.
Oh, really?
The little tiny ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought all there was left on eBay.
I was like saying, do they even have those anymore?
No. I cleaned out eBay for those.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them in my trailer view.
Yeah, they were a great little super small screen to slide in there. It was perfect.
Those are the little square ones, right?
Little rectangular,
the rectangular
ones.
I have those.
Yeah, and that was to your question of the builders. For most of the builds there, we used Unlimited Design with Paco and his team in Vancouver. They did great work for us on that. I did have a couple builds just because I had the shops there just so busy that we did have SAT build a couple of things there, like the welders and stuff that we had. So they did those. Our biggest challenge on that one was I got these spacesuits, and in like episode 3 or 4, two of the women, one of the actresses falls into the water and has to swim. And then the other one jumps in after her and then swims after her. So they're swimming at the surface level. In season 1, they did swimming, but it was deep underwater. So they just put it all in with post. But you're swimming at the surface.
Right.
So basically I had these spacesuits that were like a Halloween costume. And I was told to make them basically dive safe, like so they could swim in the water and not fill up and keep them alive in there. So in North Vancouver, there's a company called Newt Suit. They build like deep water submarines and suits that, like, even stuff that James Cameron has used to go down the Titanic. They used to build stuff for NASA, for both the U.S. and Canadian navies. These guys know their stuff. So I went in there with my suit and was like, okay, here's what I got to do. And they were just like, okay, well, that's easy. You could just put like a neoprene thing and pop their head through. I'm like, nah, that won't work because the final touches for her makeup's going to be all messed up as soon as they pop through that. And they kept having every solution they had. I just kept shooting it down. This is why it wasn't going to work in film. And the guy just looks at me and goes, "Oh, you got a real problem here." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm here."
And a week to solve it.
Yeah, exactly. Not much time to solve it. So, but ended up being Paco and his team at Unlimited. They scanned the inside of the suits and built a little, printed a piece that they could put in there, that they could put a gasket on, and put that on, and that would seal that in. And then we put like a little neoprene bib sort of thing that came around and Velcroed around underneath their armpits and stuff and sealed their head in once they were in there. And we took all of the Newt Suit guys did help me out, where we took the batteries and the fans out of the backpack and just had all the wires and everything all sealed up. And we ran a 100-foot dive hose off there and just had a hose go through the backpack and fed air in. So there was a dive master 100 feet off camera outside of the tank when they were swimming, actually feeding them air and a 100-foot long cable for the 12-volt battery. So they were all just for the couple shots that they had for that. But
for the 12-volt battery, because is that like for the lights and stuff?
For the lights and yeah.
Did lighting do all that stuff, or did you?
No, that was all in the suits from season 1. So
okay, so it kind of came in.
So we had to go with what they had and try and make that all waterproof.
All go underwater.
Yeah.
And did it all go off without a hitch?
It was fine. I think our actress was uncomfortable with it.
Who would not be uncomfortable?
Exactly right. She's like sealed into this thing. I think she was already uncomfortable with the spacesuit to begin with, and then just to seal her in there really kind of kicked in the claustrophobia. I think so. Which actually led us to like the FBFX suits. Like I said, they're beautiful. They look great. But there was a lot of things that when we were working with them, we were like, okay, well, we could do something a little different if we were ever going to do our own suits. So as soon as I finished Lost in Space, as we were wrapping up, I got a call to do this Netflix series with Hilary Swank where we're going to build spacesuits from scratch. So I went to my builder and went, "Hey, remember when we said when we get to build our spacesuits, this is how we'll do it? Oh, we're doing it." So
that's awesome, though.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
What show is this?
Away.
Yeah, you've done a lot of space stuff.
I was doing a lot of space stuff there but it was funny too because I had these big, huge DeWalt cases that I would travel with. Like we shipped a bunch of them to Iceland in advance, but then a bunch of them, because we were still working on them, had to come with me on the plane. So it was like 6 or 7 of these big, huge DeWalt cases that were coming with us.
Yeah,
checking those through security, and then my backpack, because you can't put the lithium-ion batteries in the luggage. So we drained them all, and I had a duffel bag with 28 lithium-ion batteries that were each the size of a brick.
Wow.
In my carry-on. And so I go through security, and they're just like, they scan it like, "Sir, is this your bag?" I'm like, yeah, I knew this one was coming.
That's right. The dog, bring in the dogs.
Yeah, and then they come over and they're like, "So what's in the bag, sir?" I'm like, "Those 28 lithium-ion batteries." And they're like, "What are those for?" I'm like, "My spacesuits." And they're like, can you come over here for a second, talk, have a little chat with us? I'm like, okay. And we're going to swab you.
Right.
and every one of these batteries. So yeah, it's pretty funny. And then I had, so I went, and then they have to drop those. Some of them.
I hope you were there a couple hours early before your flight.
Yeah, because Costumes was there with a whole bunch of hockey bags full of their stuff and all this stuff too. Like they had so much stuff going on. They had a lot of people helping us just get on the plane, and then I took the cases over to the oversized luggage, which was really funny because oversized luggage in Canada wasn't like big, or it wasn't like a big bulky thing for this to fit into. It was meant for long things like skis and hockey sticks.
Right, exactly.
Like it was still like a narrow tunnel, and I was like, well, so I had to walk them around to put them on the conveyor. But then months later, when I was coming down to LA doing fittings for Away with the spacesuits we were building there, we had to come down here for a couple of times to meet the actors. And I got to the airport with new spacesuits in new cases, and the guy was like, I opened it up, and the guy was like, hey, I remember you. You're the spacesuit guy. Yeah. Nice. Like, yeah, it's a different show now, though. But yeah.
Was these spacesuits?
Yes.
Oh, right on.
Nice.
So you got to design a lot of this stuff, or build them from scratch, pretty much.
Yeah, I worked with our costume designer Kimberly.
Fantastic.
We concepted those, and we told them it was going to be 16 weeks we needed to do it, and 16 weeks to the day from the time we started on it to like picking them up from the builder shop and bringing them straight to set.
Really?
And just like brought them right in. The first day they played on set, they were just dressed in the background, so it was a little bit easier. But well, there was I think we built 7 of them.
7 of them?
Yeah, it was 7.
And they all needed supplied air?
Yeah, they all had their air pack, the fans and everything were all inside their backpack, and then there were hoses that came up the back and clipped in and magnetized to the ring in the back there, which is that's all milled aluminum, so it really caught the light nicely. Cool! I figured it's right around their face. We just did that all the connector pieces are actually all milled aluminum anodized, and then. So the air came up, and Paco and his guys, actually, they designed a really cool thing, because the problem with spacesuits is always the fogging up in front of the face as they're breathing. So these 2 little holes for the hoses in the back of the neck came up, and then he had 3D printed like this fan blade that came around the back and aimed all the air right at the front of the visor. So you couldn't fog that thing off if you tried, because it was always just getting fresh air blown on it.
That's
really cool.
It was really cool. Yeah, they did a great job with those.
Did you get a lot of notes on it, or did they like pretty much pass it the first time you present? I guess it must help, like having 2 department heads basically kind of iron everything out together, huh?
We showed them the concept art, and they loved it, and we were building them, and as we went on, and I couldn't believe that Kimberly, our costume designer, did this. It was like, they said, okay, well, we want to see where you're at with it. And she was just like, no. She's like, no, because we don't have time to change anything. It's going to look like that drawing.
Yeah.
And we showed a couple little photos, but it was just
our
like,
concepts are good.
yeah. We're like, no, this is what it's going to be. And we don't want a bunch of people changing it because we don't have time. So this is what it's going to be. So,
and they're just like, okay.
I guess they were just like, all right. So the
stunned into submission.
Props and costumes aren't showing us our $1 million spacesuits. So that was, I can't believe we got away with not showing those at all until they were ready.
Wow.
Until they were like a final fitting. It was like, yeah, here you go.
But they loved it.
Oh, they loved it. Yeah, they changed. I think they changed a couple little things, like some little color tabs, I think, but nothing too much.
Yeah.
And that's actually a shot, the one there that you had there where the visors are up. Right. So I did that because of the claustrophobic person that I'd had in Lost in Space.
Right.
I thought it's just so much easier and also good for touches if they can just flip their visor up.
100%.
So we built that in. It was never supposed to actually be something that was on camera, which I don't think they ever used it on camera, but just for their comfort as well to just open up when they're between takes.
Look at that. Thinking of actors' comfort.
Yeah, well, it
does get overlooked a lot, actually.
Yeah, well, if they're hating
except by us.
Yeah.
Except for by us.
Exactly, because we have to deal with them.
And
That's true.
And another cool location we had on that too is I got to go down to, I went to Albuquerque to shoot the exterior Mars scenes that they did there. Spoiler alert. They land and then they canceled the show, so they're stuck there. But we went to shoot at Houston at the Ellington Air Force Base.
Oh, cool.
That NASA runs, where they do the training on the T-38 Talon jets. Right. So there was actual astronauts were taking off while we were shooting out on the tarmac and stuff. It was pretty cool. Like her getting into the jet and stuff like that. So, and all the crew, all of our extras were all NASA employees, so that they didn't have to clear anybody.
Right, and so these were lit too, the inside of the helmets.
They were, yeah. I was on the show way before the DP was even hired for the show, I had already started to put these in and decide that we were going to do it. When he came on, he was like, "Well, it just kind of doesn't really look that great because it's not something you'd normally have, but." It looks weird when you see it on shows.
But
you can,
every single spacesuit ever is something that you wouldn't normally have in the lighting.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but there's one of our cast members there, was an African American gentleman who was very dark skinned. So we did our fitting, and we didn't have the lights in there yet. And I took a photo of him, sent it to the DP, and I'm like, "You sure you don't want the lights?" Because you couldn't see his face at all. It was just black. It was just completely outlined.
In anybody's face,
he was like, "Yeah, let's put this in." Yeah, as soon as otherwise you're trying to shoot a light into it, and you've got the plastic the visor that you're going to be looking through.
Are they must be like dimmable and stuff.
Oh yeah, it was all remote control dimmable, and it was bicolored white, so you could change the temperature of it.
So
as well.
In any case, like it's like always better to have that
a little bit.
You can just shut it off.
That's
if you
right.
don't want it.
I still think they had them on a little bit brighter than like it's nice when it's just it's just nice when it's just a little dim sort of fill. Yeah. But then you see it all the time, like. I noticed that too when I watched Lost in Space, that they had those on really bright sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like,
So they could do those giant wide shots and you could just see the glow of like a headlight coming out of their face.
Which was another thing we did. Another thing we did there too with, because on Lost in Space, each suit had its own remote control, where on this we just put it all onto a DMX board for the lighting department to handle, so they could
like in Lost in Space it was like on the person.
No, there was a remote control that came in the bin with their suit, so it was, but it was like one was assigned to each one. So
so each person had to have
each suit,
somebody with
if you wanted to change it, you had to get the right remote control. Whereas this way we just had all the suits on one board, and the lighting department could just deal with it.
It was pretty much you can do it on an iPad or something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, that's like all the lightsabers I feel like are going that way too. So then after that, you went and did Space Force. You telling me they shot Space Force in Vancouver?
Season 2.
They shot season 2 in
season
Vancouver?
1 was LA, and then season 2, and the reason they came up was COVID. Things were a lot worse down here than they were up there when they agreed to do it, and then by the time they got up there, it was way worse in Vancouver, and everything was just locked down. And so like anybody that came across the border was a 2-week quarantine.
Wow.
So all the cast, everybody had to quarantine by themselves for a couple weeks, and it was a really fun show. Great cast, great writers.
Yeah. How was Malkovich?
He was awesome.
Right?
Yeah, he's so great. Yeah, super cool. Yeah.
Like I was telling you guys before we started recording about like me watching a lot of Nick Cage movies. I just watched Con Air again not long ago, and he is my favorite part about that.
He's so good.
He's so good in it. He's good in everything.
Yeah.
Space Force. It's crazy. It's crazy to me that they shot an American militant show.
Well, I mean, how many military shows have I done too? Everything's tons of military.
That's
all on there, but it's pretty funny.
How was that? Was it?
It was good. It was quick. It was really thick COVID time, so they were just trying to get it done, and I guess they thought it would be better for them to just shoot the entire season out of order.
Did you have to make any spacesuits for it?
The entire season all at once out of order with one director, and I think the cast just hated it because they would just lose the flow. Yeah. It's comedy, right? And they just didn't. There was so often they'd be like, okay, what scene of what episode are we shooting now?
Right.
They wouldn't know. And it's just like, it was, just
especially with comedy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Did since Steve Carell is one of the creators of that show, did you have to pass off, like get a lot of approvals from him personally, or
some of the stuff that was with him? Yeah. But everybody there sort of, the showrunners and all that did most of the approvals and stuff, but he would have input with everything. He was really quiet, kind of kept to himself, but I overheard a lot of conversations when he'd go over and talk to them at the Village, and like he's really
was that Greg Daniels, or is that...
Greg Daniels was there just a little bit. Norm Hiscock was there mostly, and am I drawing a blank on our director? Carell had so much input on it, and he's really like everything was really well thought out, and it's just like he would change a lot of the scenes, and it was always for the better,
right?
And it was like wasn't like so blatant. The comedy wasn't so blatant, but it was a lot more subtle, and it was he was great. Ken directed all the second season.
And yeah, they didn't do that the season before.
No,
It looked like
they didn't.
They had a pretty even spread. So,
Yeah.
So that must. I mean, so you block shot everything pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was some of the rooms they block shot most of the season. Yeah.
That's like, was that just a nightmare for continuity and everything like that? Was it like super difficult to keep track of all that shit?
Yeah, it was. I mean, there wasn't a ton of continuity in a lot of that for us, but it was. I'm sure it was for script, trying to follow all that. There was a couple things where there was episodes, like there was one where there was a big BattleBot episode, so we made a bunch of BattleBots and had the BattleBot battles and all that. So that stuff was all
freaking awesome.
So that stuff was all kind of all with. They did that sort of all at the same time. But
yeah,
just like stuff in his office and stuff. They mostly just do a few different episodes.
On your episodic stuff, do you work the set or do you have a set master? Or?
No, I'll have somebody on set because I've usually got meetings to get to and all that prep stuff to be doing. I'm usually 2 or 3 episodes ahead.
Except for Space Force.
Except for Space Force, yeah. No, I was still prepping. Yeah, you're just still trying to prep everything at once, right? So you're always running like way ahead of the set. And
do you have a regular person that you use? Or?
I've had a couple of regulars that I've used. Yeah, I mean when COVID sort of shut everything down, and when we came back from COVID, it was like 40 shows were all crewing up within a week.
Right.
And but I had been hired to do this really cool Western that was going to be shot there, and I was like, "Oh, Western! I got to get a Western under my belt.
Yeah.
Prop Master needs a Western."
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I was really stoked. The script was really good, and the designer had hired me, and so my phone kept ringing. I kept turning down all these shows, and then right at the last second, the Western went, "We're going to Albuquerque." So they left, and so my whole crew was like, "What? We've been holding off for this." So a lot of them had to take other gigs somewhere else, and then I had a couple things where sort of patched some crew together, and then I ended up getting Violent Night in Winnipeg, so I was gone for 6 months doing that. So
you've done a lot. How many shows have you done in Winnipeg?
Just the one.
Joe, just the one?
Yeah.
And then the other. Oh, but you're all over Canada pretty much.
Mostly in Vancouver. I mean, we did Drumheller, Alberta for a bit of Lost in Space, but no, I haven't traveled. I mean, we shot some stuff around BC, like on Vancouver Island, around Tofino.
Gotcha.
We did
Okay.
The Big Year, we shot some there, and as well as Planet of the Apes, War for the Planet of the Apes, the stuff where they're walking on the horses along the beach.
Right.
It's supposed to be California. That's all Long Beach and Tofino. And
So did you shoot? You shot Violent Night in Winnipeg in the dead of winter, or?
oh yeah.
Oh my god!
And it was the snowiest winter on record since 1843 in Winnipeg, which is pretty snowy. And it was the second coldest winter on record since.
Wow!
Did you have any set snow days that you just couldn't shoot because of that?
There was some stuff when they were shooting the finale fight where they ended up they called it a little early because like the dolly froze to the track. It was like -40,
like outside of the house.
Outside.
Yeah,
that fight sequence is outside, and like the guns were freezing up. Like no matter what, there was nothing you could do.
It's so funny because again in LA we don't deal with that, but it is stuff freezing is an issue.
Yeah, -40 is a bit ridiculous to be outside and doing anything.
-40 is crazy
because that's actually where Fahrenheit and Celsius meet. -40.
Yeah.
So I don't have to translate it there. So, but yeah, that was pretty cold. But I was doing a lot of splits then because I still had to be prepping stuff for the next day, and they've got their crews there were really nice and all that, but they don't like a show of that scale with that many builds and that much stuff. They weren't quite used to it, so I was having to sort of split my time to, they were shooting nights, so I was doing splits of prepping stuff during the day, making sure everybody was still on track in the lockup and working on things. And
how much of the sets were built in Violent Night? Because you shot in a mansion, right?
Yeah, all the interiors were built.
Of the mansion?
Yeah.
So all the interior. So why was that? Were you just not? Is it just because the destroying?
Because we were kicking the shit out of it. We destroyed the place. We were shooting and killing everybody in the place, and it was just destroying the whole place. So, that was Roger Fires was our designer on that, and he squeezed everything into this little converted warehouse set that they had in Winnipeg, and I staged they had in Winnipeg, and
that probably had never seen a production before.
No, they had. I mean, they do some shows there, but nothing really. I think their biggest one before that was that Nobody
That one with Bob
right.
Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk,
Yeah,
yeah. And then, so that's what they kept telling me when they were like, "Oh, we did nobody here." I'm like, "This is way bigger than nobody.
Right.
Like, this is way bigger. Like, nobody you see. Like, we need a full-time armorer from Vancouver. We need to bring like his truck is going to be full of guns. Like, they're like, well, we had guns on nobody. I'm like, I just rewatched it and marked down the guns there. You had a handgun 40 minutes in. Then about 25 minutes later, you had like a 30-second shootout with some machine guns. And then, you just brought your armor in for those days. But like,
Right.
we had, and then there's the finale. There's more guns at that. But it's like this show had guns throughout the whole thing. So we had an armor in full time for that. So
Yeah, guns and hammers and bowling balls.
yeah,
And all kinds.
There was some fun stuff on that.
And were all your guns practical?
They did a lot of VFX muzzle flash just because it was such
Right.
close quarters. But we did have real working versions of everything.
Did you do airsoft then for?
For some of the stuff, but most of it was rubbers because they were actually shooting and then getting in a fight. And
Right,
so they just go
right.
straight to it. So we had a little, for in the barn sequence, it was so dark in there. We had built these little LED flash bulb things that would go off when you pull the trigger. We'd wire it. So on the non-camera side of the gun, we'd tape a wire going up there and put it on. So and we could adjust the speed and the brightness.
Right.
So when you'd pull the trigger, at least you'd get that
Something to
reaction,
key
and
off of.
they'd key the muzzle flash off. Plus, it would give the ambient light to
Right.
the interactive light off the other actors and stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, with the set build on that, the barn fight that they had with the Bryan Adams song.
Yeah.
Just so good. Like, I didn't know that was going to be in there when I watched the movie. It was so funny. It's just so.
So wait, what did they play on set on the day?
No, they didn't. There was nothing.
There's
There was nothing. You're just shooting the movie.
So it's like it looks cool, but
It
then
looks
when
cool,
you add the
and then you
music-
do it with something about Christmas time by Bryan Adams was pretty funny. But that whole barn was actually that whole great hall that they shoot in with the Christmas tree and where all the family is when they break in. That was repurposed while we were out on location, and we came back and it was now the barn. So that same space was the barn.
That's so funny. That's so interesting. And I mean, even with as far as the gun stuff goes, I mean, even if you're not shooting blanks, I think for this type of movie in particular, it's already slapsticky enough that
Right.
I don't think you need to for the. I'm always gonna usually go for let's do like blanks and everything,
Right.
but this one, I mean. If you've seen it, it's Santa wheeling around a sledgehammer and, and like coming in, which is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
How much rubbers did you have to make for this?
I think I originally had.
And did you have to bring them out with you
yeah,
to constantly be making?
No, well,
rubbers?
we had them shipped in. It was JP and his crew at Chiron Custom Props and Effects in Vancouver made all those for us, and we had 6 foam rubbers built originally, and then halfway through I ordered 6 more
For the sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And what about other props?
They were just destroying.
How many rubbers across the movie did you have to make of everything?
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Like, it was funny when I was originally hired to do that. Like going back to what I said about not doing shows of this scale, they told me that my budget was like $30,000.
Jesus.
And
Yeah.
which
For
ended
one
up,
prop, maybe.
which ended up almost covering my FedEx bill.
Yeah.
Because there was so many times too where they would change. And I think our gun rental for the show was $90,000. Like, our ammo was $25,000.
Where did they come up with 30?
Hallmark movies.
Is most of the producers from Hallmark?
No, the
gonna
producers
say.
on that weren't, but they just I don't know. I guess they just didn't realize how much we were gonna have to build. Like, especially even on the Christmas decorations that you then use as weapons, you have to design and build those from scratch. You can't just
100%.
buy a Christmas tree star and stab someone in the eye and electrocute them with it.
You could.
You'll get sued. I mean, you could.
And then there's got to be 4 different versions of that.
Yeah.
Like it's saying, you have to have like the cutoff piece.
The cutoff
you have
piece,
to
the
have rubber
super
one.
lightweight cutoff piece that makeup effects glues to
That,
the eye.
yeah,
and
yeah,
then-
the makeup effects.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's got to still light up and work because
course.
he plugs it in and
course it
electrocutes
does.
the guy and his head catches on fire.
So again, I have to go back to that conversation where they tell you $30,000, and then where do you go from there?
Oh, I talked to them. I said they're nowhere near where we need to be, and I was actually at a friend's wedding in Mexico when this number came up, and I was just like, I had this really bad feeling. So I was supposed to go home after the wedding and then like have 2 or 3 days before I got on a plane to go do this movie. So I started thinking, oh God, am I going to not do this movie now? Because like, and they're telling me that I had like 4 weeks of prep or whatever, or 5 weeks of prep, and which everybody there thought was a really long prep. And
4 weeks?
Yeah. Well, 4 weeks, but yeah, no, it was 5. It was 5, but then there was also the Christmas break in there. So I ended up not going home for Christmas because I stayed there to prep over the holidays. I think I took Christmas Day off. Wow. That was pretty much it, but I just worked right through it. But yeah, I came back with a number that said 300.
Right.
And they said, you got to bring that down. You're out of your mind. And I said, okay, well, let's walk through this. Where do you think I'm like, I don't even know what this number really is because we don't even have concepts yet. And they were like, well, why do you have like $5,000 for Santa's bag? And I'm like, well, just watch the process of how many choices how many times we go through choices, how many versions we need. It does get thrown into a fire and burn as well at some point. So there's all the different, it gets through all these fights, it gets aging where you need a bunch of them. And I think by the time all is said and done, they changed their mind so many times. We had like all these different faux furs and Arctic fox fur and all this stuff. And they'd approve things and then they'd approve it and then we'd buy it all and then they'd change it. After we already bought it, and the fur guy wasn't taking it back, so we're stuck with all this. In the end, I think we spent $15,000 on Santa's bag. And I was like, just watch the process, watch how it grows.
Exactly.
That's been I do a lot of shows with heavy murder props too. But that's how I always give them that number too, and it's a scoff thing. And I've always found that that's the easiest way. It's like, okay, let's sit down and walk through the scene. It's like, all right, he does this and he swings and then he stabs. We're going to need this, this, and this for that. Can we cut that out?
Right.
No? All right. Well, okay, that whole part of the budget stays.
Can
we cut that out? No? Okay, well, that part of the budget stays. And at the end, they're like, well, yeah, it looks like we need that.
Yeah, exactly.
How much do you know how much you spent on that? Was it $300,000?
No. So, it was, our producers were David Leitch and Kelly McCormick of 87 North. They did like Deadpool 2.
Oh, great.
They did,
they
just did Fall Guy, Atomic Blonde.
Lots of murder props.
They should know better.
So then, well, they do, and they were like, that's what they normally do. So that's why they just kept asking for more. So because they normally can. Right. So then, and JoJo was our stunt coordinator, who's amazing. Does a lot of big, huge stunt shows. They did Obi-Wan, and he does. John Wick movies and that kind of stuff, and he's Matrix, so small shows, and small stunt shows, and so they would, we had the script, and I'd have meetings with the director, and we'd go through and we'd say, okay, here's all the props for this action sequence, and I'd get things approved, and then I'd start moving forward with it, and then they'd be like, okay, well, we're gonna have a sequence meeting for this fight sequence, and then we'd get in there and they'd show a previs they'd done with all these new props that weren't in the script, and I would be like, okay, the video would end. I'd be like, most of that's not in the script, not approved, not in the budget. What are we doing? And the producers were just like, well, just get them what they want, man. It's their movie. Just do it. So I was like, okay, but this is getting expensive. It's meeting after meeting after meeting because it's all so many fight sequences in that. And they were like, well, how expensive is it getting? And I said, well, I asked my builders that, and they said, do you want an estimate or do you want the prop on time? Because we're really busy right now.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time to do it. So then in the end, it ended up coming in just a little over $6 million.
A little over $500,000.
Right. Yeah.
That's all right.
So, yeah.
But I bet you they were happy with the final product.
They were happy with the final product. They weren't too happy with all the invoices at the end, but it was everything in there was what they wanted. So I handed them a budget back, which was my original budget, which was a spreadsheet, which was all white lines, and then everything after that was all red lines. And it was all the stuff that wasn't in the script and wasn't in my budget, and all stuff that was asked for afterwards, and it was actually double. And actually, when I removed all of that stuff out, I think I was off by like less than $5,000 on my original.
Yeah.
Have
you done murder props before this? Like a lot of
I've done
this
stunt stuff, murder stuff. And
nothing at this scale.
Not this many in one show. It was probably one of the busiest prop shows I've ever been on.
It looks
not only just a prop master, but just in any capacity. It was really, really busy.
But it looks fun too.
Yeah.
Like it was real fun with that stuff.
It's fun. It was fun after.
Those are ones fun after.
2 years from now, this is going to be a great memory.
Like that looks like exactly. But those look like, the stuff today. It's like as a prop master on TV shows, it's like there's certain sequences and scenes where it's like no matter what, as a prop master, even if like you're not like you have stuff to do, you have to be on set to watch this unfold. It seems like every other scene is
pretty much
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Too much happening.
Yeah. It was very busy. But then I was also having to run and keep going with
Right.
with the next huge
Exactly.
sequence that was shooting tomorrow, right? So
Yeah.
it was busy.
How long of a shoot was that?
I think we were 45 days.
Right.
Right? Yeah, something like that. It was really busy.
That's amazing. And that's the last film you did? No, the Valiant one.
Valiant one is
That's in production.
Yeah, that's in post.
Post.
We actually shot that and we finished that end of November. We finished that about just over a year ago, actually. A little independent feature, but I guess I don't know if they had a distributor or not at that point for it, but I
Right.
think they're still working on that. So, it was interesting little military story about a U.S. helicopter gets sort of blown off course, which is sort of loosely based off a true story, and crashes down on the North Korean side of the border.
Oh, right.
And then they have to get their way back because nobody's coming for them, because that would be a bit of an international incident.
Yes.
so they're getting chased on their way back, and that. So,
Okay.
which was another one too, where they wanted to do a VFX muzzle flash gunfire, which and then but like the whole end sequence, they're in dark tunnels, shooting at each other. And like, well, what's going to light the shot? Like, it's pitch black. Other than that, like the gunfire would light up the whole thing. You can't just add a flash, because you won't. It won't light their face. It won't light the walls. It won't do any of that. So, they ended up saw that they had to do that, and we changed their mind and got them to doing blank fire.
You guys shot in North Korea, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
No, it was North Vancouver.
North Vancouver, same thing.
Similar.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
So, have you shot anywhere besides Iceland, outside of Canada?
Outside, well, the two places I mentioned in the States, that's pretty much it then.
Oh, wait, where was it?
Albuquerque and Houston
okay.
for the away show. But that's pretty much it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Staying home.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing's been like a full show somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty good. I mean, it's quite the career, and you got to stay in country the whole
Stay
time.
home most of the time. Well, I think lots of times they come to Vancouver because
Right.
that's where the
Sure.
destination is.
Right. Doesn't originate out of there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your favorite type of show to work on? You like features or TV?
Features. I like features because you really feel you have more the time to do it properly.
Yeah.
Right.
You're so rushed,
And
and
you can be
I can be on set
Yeah.
a lot more. A lot more hands on. Like doing some of those series, you're just so busy. You're just
Right.
if you see me on set, something's wrong. So
Yeah.
That's what I
like
always
Lost in
say.
Space, if I was on set, there's something going wrong. So
Yeah. So you didn't get to do your Western yet, but so that's what you're holding out for.
yeah, I'd
Is
love
that-
to. I'd love to
Yeah.
for sure. It'd be fun.
It's what we get most from prop masters. It's like, oh, what's the one thing you want? Western.
Right.
Yeah. Everybody wants their Western.
Yeah, right. You gotta
Yeah,
get
they're
one.
fun.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I got
It's
to
usually a lot of-
partial
usually-
Western.
Part Western,
Usually
half
a lot
Western.
of mud and dust, but
Yeah,
but
exactly.
fun. And old guns,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it'd be fun.
yeah, for real.
Yeah.
So is there a show that you wanted that you didn't get, that besides that Western that?
Well, there was one. Actually, I was just talking to Guillaume about this the other day. Lee Cleary was the first assistant director, or the first AD and co-producer on Thor. The Thor, he did the Love and Thunder, and he was putting my name in there at the same time, and they picked him. But I was really holding up for that, holding my hopes up for that one, because that would have been in Australia, and that would have been a huge get. Like,
That would have been a huge
it's
get.
no surprise they went with Guillaume, but
Yeah.
the fact that my name was in there for that was pretty awesome.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
good company for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've competed with Gil for anything.
I'm never even going to be in the same universe as Cal, so I can't even look at
Yeah, I don't think it was much of a competition once his
I
name
was
entered.
thrilled to work with his wife. So
Right.
that's amazing. So do you have something in the works yet?
Nothing. There was a little movie that I was signed up to do before the strike happened. It was called Crying in H Mart, which is based on a Korean book. But it was that went away. It's still on our list. I haven't heard anything back from them yet, but I figure I'll drop them a line sometime soon and see what's going on.
Yeah.
But the list in Vancouver's got a few new shows popping up on it and stuff. So I think,
So are
I think
things starting to heat up?
yeah, I think. Well, I wouldn't say heat up and warm up slowly, but
Right.
it's. But yeah, I think the phone should hopefully start ringing soon.
I know, that's what we're all hoping for,
Oh,
really.
yeah.
Yeah.
You hearing anything yet, Mikey?
No.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Well, because there's also, I wonder if it's something to do too, because there is a fairly strong
Yes.
opinion that they shouldn't sign.
Yeah. Well, isn't
So-
that supposed to happen
That's today. Today at 5. Today.
You mean last
You mean
month?
last
Oh,
month? A
that's
month
right.
ago? Yeah.
It's last month. Yes.
Yeah.
On December 5th.
No,
So,
yeah, I've gotten asked to assist on a couple jobs, but it's I've just, even with this happening, I'm still at the point, unless it's somebody that I love, and it's temporarily. I'm just done assisting.
Yeah.
No, of course. But I have heard. I mean, things are definitely heating up out there.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard some things, but I also heard that some things that were starting to heat up, they're pumping the brakes on because they're waiting for the ratification. So
Right. Yeah.
So I think we would have probably been hearing about things that are going to fire up in January, but maybe, Christmas presents for everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, yeah,
Imagine
hopefully
if
it's
they
right.
don't ratify that.
I just can't imagine, Trader Joe's won't have me.
You're not qualified.
No, they all know. They're all too savvy. It's like, yeah, sure, you're not leaving.
So you should talk about the PMG in Vancouver and what you're
Yes.
doing as director out there. You've been doing some great stuff up there.
A little bit. We've got we've grown it a little bit, and we got our little Sunday social, which has been just sort of a little start out to get people out there and talking about it. And it's been great to chat with people about what the PMG is doing with trying to put together an awards show and just bring recognition to it. And it's people outside of LA kind of haven't really felt like part of any real big community, I guess.
Right.
And as was mentioned before, there wasn't really a welcome community before, and also when we were talking about that, I would have been the same thing with people here. Like the industry was from here, it was going elsewhere, and Vancouver was the poster child for that for a while, right? So now that it's sort of they're being welcomed in from by LA and the PMG, that people have a really good feeling about being seen and getting that recognition for their craft, and because everybody in props kind of feels like that stepchild department anyway.
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
then get recognition for it and get recognition from Hollywood is pretty cool for everybody there. So people have actually been fairly emotional, even when chatting with me about it a little bit at those Sunday socials. And that's
great.
before they get into a few drinks. So
Yeah, we work better together than against each other.
Yeah.
You know what
I
I mean?
agree.
I think that's been all around with this.
Right.
It's just
well, the industry is going to do what it wants to do and go where it wants to go, no matter what. I mean,
Right.
And everybody needs to work.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But you guys are meeting up every month, or
Once a month, the third Sunday of every month. So we got one in a couple of Sundays from now when I get back.
yeah,
So that'll be good. We got a little Christmas version.
yeah.
But yeah, I'll have lots to talk about with this year. I'm going to post about it also we've got an local 891 props member chat that I can put this in and some photos and stuff of what we did here. And
nice.
and
You guys
and
open
we're
that
trying
up. You open that up to assistant prop masters and stuff to come hang out too, or
Yeah, and builders and
builders?
I put it out there. Just anybody involved, come on out. It's open. It's open to everybody. We've had some builders come out and a lot of assistant prop masters and that come out and our fair share of prop masters as well. So
yeah.
there's that, and then we're sort of working on trying to get into the Fan Expo in February, but it might be a little too tight, and we might just need to slow that down a bit. Where we're still discussing, as we know, with our board to see whether that's going to happen or not. But we're working on it. So
It'll happen eventually.
if not this year, then
Yeah,
another one.
exactly.
But that was,
It's
it was
inevitable.
it was just so great seeing what we brought to the LA Con, and you learn so much from a first time like that too. And I think that one thing, as I've mentioned to you guys, we should not be paying to be there. Like,
No, yeah.
they should be paying. They should be covering our booth.
Yeah.
After what they saw.
and trying to help because
No, it's
we were a
great.
fan favorite, and
was
they're less.
great.
If we don't have to spend money on a booth, we can spend more. We can spend money on making the booth better, and and hopefully get some help from them. And there's definitely ways we can make that really cool for the fans. And, have stuff with like some builds that are in the process of being built and all that kind of stuff too, as well as the props from the shows. So
That's one of those things that I've always confounded me. We as property people know that we're the most fun department, and we get to do all the fun things and get to build everything. It always confounded me that it never seemed to translate out in the real world.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
It's-
not only
I'm
did they
seeing it.
get
Yeah.
it, but they thought that where did they think props came from, right?
Right.
And now that they're seeing it, like what was evident this weekend at LA Comic Con, people are like crazy for it because it's tactical. It's right there. You get to see it and interact with it, and I think it's just only going to build from there.
Yeah, no, it's great.
No, and I mean, if anything comes out of it, it's resources too. Because I got at least 10 business cards of people who just make props independently on the side. I mean, anything. They're just they're like, check out my Instagram. Look at this stuff. Like. Let me put in a bid for a show next time. Like all this stuff is just like, oh,
right.
I mean, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Like this does look pretty cool, So it's just like a lot of the stuff that's just coming to you. But people do it. Like I said, even if we can't do the booth this year, I'm sure we can do a panel because these panels are like, are so cool. And this is just showed even the panel that we did last year at Historical Society. Like we filled house. We were spilling out of the building.
Yep.
And these ones we filled the room, over 200 people each. Like we've shown that people want to hear us talk. I mean, look at this podcast. We do at least 600 to 1,000 downloads almost an episode.
Nice. Awesome. That's great.
It's insane. Thank you guys out there.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're not sick of my voice yet, which is great.
Exactly.
So yeah, people want to hear the stories and stuff like that. So I think at the very least we could keep doing that, and we're gonna keep trying.
Yes,
we're gonna keep trying.
100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt, been great having you in.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks, guys.
We were lucky that you got you in person in town.
Yeah, so much better to do it in person.
Yeah, we've been trying to get you for like a couple months, and it's like, oh, well, I might be. It's like, yep, we're gonna wait.
Yeah. If I'm coming down, let's do it then for sure.
Let's do it in the
Fantastic.
studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some other people coming up that are going to be awesome. So
yeah,
so we might have some prop houses on coming.
Yes,
which is great. So.
Definitely. Yeah, with the dance cards filling up. A lot of people want to do it. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
awesome.
Great.
Thanks, guys. Great work.
Yeah,
awesome.
Well, have a great trip back.
Thanks.
And hopefully you'll be going back to work soon.
Yeah, hopefully we're all too busy soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Soon enough.
Exactly. That's why we're filling them in now.
All right, Mikey, take us out.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. If this is your first time listening to the episode of Prop Talk, please like, subscribe, do all the things. And please visit our website, propertymasterguild.org. If you're in Vancouver, especially, follow us on Instagram and go to our website. And anything that we're going to be doing out there, we're going to be posting about, or all the information is going to be there on our website and on our Instagram and all that stuff like that. So you can message there too if you want us to connect you with Kurt. He's running all of our stuff mostly out. He's directing a lot of the stuff out in Toronto. So, I mean, not Toronto, Vancouver. Thank you. So go do that. Like, subscribe on all the socials. Until next time.